Hello, Contrarians listeners, Contrarians fans, Contrarians watchers. Here we are with the latest preview for our latest episode, which is our very first Hugh Grant vehicle here in the Contrarians. Previously, we had Hugh Grant as part of an ensemble in Cloud Atlas. Feels like a million years ago. And now we're going further back in his career with About a Boy, a patron pick, a patron demand from Jamie Russell. Does Alex like Hugh Grant or not? That's one of the questions that will be answered when you listen to the episode. But you'll have to, get through a recap of this super fresh movie. This movie is in the mid 90s, which surprised all of us, except for Jamie, I guess. But as you know, we're going to go through some quotes, fresh quotes in this case, a little bit of trivia, and of course, the Josh Gad Minute.
93%.
93, okay, so low 90s, but still, like About a Boy,
It's high up there.
from the directors of American Pie, and we talk about that part a lot in the episode, but not what you would expect, a big left turn, and then...
Well, the other thing is, too, it's almost 200 reviews. We talk about, like, it's not just like a small pool. Like, a lot of people...
Yeah, it's not just the Whiteses and, Jason Biggs and a couple other people throwing fresh tomatoes there. No, this was a lot. It was a bona fide critical hit. So it needs to be taken down a peg. So look for that on our Contreras Corner. All right, Alex, I'm going to shoot some fresh tomatoes at you. I'm going to start with Matthew Turner from View London, who says, "That Rare Beast, a decent British comedy, thanks largely to a terrific comic performance by Grant." This dude, I'm assuming View London is a British publication, website, what have you. He's making it sound like British comedies are not decent to begin with, for the most part. Do you
selling them out?
Yeah, did you have a lot of experience when it comes to British comedies? Because I was trying to think back, and I know I've seen a fair amount of them,
like
but
Monty Python.
Yeah, I don't think Matthew Turner. I hope you're not including Monty Python in this. He should have added.
Maybe extricated if he does that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of British period pieces that are meant to be funny. I mean, I guess that's you think British, and we've talked about this on the show before. You think mostly crime dramas now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what gets all the acclaim here, and Richard Curtis comedies. Is Love Actually a British comedy? It is, right? It's mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and people love Love Actually.
Don't they do like a tour of like the locations of that movie?
Really? They do?
I think so. Maybe that's something made up for something I read or watched once. I don't know.
It's a thing that they do. Don't they do a tour of Sex and the City locations?
Halloween, bunch of different shit like that. Yeah, Christmas romantic comedy composed, predominantly of British actors.
There you go.
So
there you go. Including Hugh Grant.
So. I mean, it is Richard Curtis. So
okay, maybe we need to look at British romantic comedies or British comedies outside of Hugh Grant's.
I mean, as has been well established on here, I fucking love like Mr. Bean and fuck the agent movies he's in, like the spy thrillers. Johnny something or other.
Not Johnny Mnemonic.
Not Johnny Mnemonic.
No.
It's not Johnny Ace. Johnny English.
There you go. All right. So maybe Matthew Turner playing his cards a little too hard. There is British comedy outside of About a Boy, which is not even directed by British directors. So I don't know why the comparison.
No.
I guess it's set in England, but
yeah.
So, James Sanford from James Sanford and Film. He says, Hugh Grant affirms his position as this century's answer to Cary Grant. Big words, Alex.
Yeah, first of all, that guy messed up by not... His name was it James Sanford, you said?
Yeah.
Should have been James Sanford and Son. That should be his outlet that he reviews for. Yeah, when you say something like that, you're just immediately setting yourself up for failure.
You're just asking for a fight?
It's like in the sports world when you say someone is the next X, someone's the next Michael Jordan, someone's the next Conor McGregor. When you say something like that, it just immediately sets them up for failure.
But are you a big Cary Grant fan? Like, do you feel provoked by this statement?
I mean, I'm a huge North by Northwest fan, and some of the other stuff I've seen with him, I enjoy. It's just kind of not an intelligent way to go about the review. And then also it's like, what are you trying to say about Hugh Grant? because I guess it's a positive review, so it's supposed to be in a positive light. But like, what are you really trying to say about this? Because critics of that era say that like actors just played the same thing in every single thing that they did.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's obviously what I would say about Hugh Grant. But no, just a bad approach. If you want to say, just say I like this movie. Don't go through all this.
He reminded me of Cary Grant. We'll allow that. He can say that, but this century's answer to Cary Grant, I don't know. I think there may be other contenders, and I think that Hugh Grant has shown that he has no interest in being this century's Cary Grant. I mean, he's, like I said, he starred in Cloud Atlas, and he ate people in that movie, so not quite what Cary Grant would do. Bruce Newman from the San Jose Mercury News says, yes, he says Hoult, for Nicholas Hoult, is one of those amazing child actors whose faces serve as sheer membrane to their hearts. Now, how Alex feels.
I say Halt when he shows up, not Holt,
but how Alex feels about Hugh Grant is still maybe a mystery to those of you who haven't listened to the episode. But how Alex feels about Nicholas Hoult, that's been visited in several episodes.
That's Contrarians canon.
Yeah. If you listen to our Fury Road episode, there was a long stretch where it was Alex just raging against Nicholas Hoult while the guys from Franchise Killer were just in shock. he's kind of he's supposed to be the lovable guy in that movie. He's an X-Man Alex, but this movie was made when he was just a child. He was Baby Beast.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a difference from seeing somebody like, and we always bring him up, Haley Joel Osment in The Sixth Sense, where you're like, well, this kid is obviously going to be in a lot more movies, and if his agent doesn't drop the ball, and watching Nicholas Hoult here, did you get that feeling as well? Like, could you tell, like, this is not the last we're going to see of this kid?
I mean, I saw this movie in 2023, so I unfortunately don't have
cursed with the knowledge.
Yeah. Fortunately, I have that. It's my cross to bear that I know that Nicholas Hoult had a semi-successful career. I mean, you would think so. It's just based on the fact alone that this movie is kind of anchored by a child's performance and it doesn't suck. That's usually a risky proposition when you anchor a movie to a child's performance, especially one that's debuting, getting the introducing credit, for crying out loud. So, I mean, it was apparent that there was some skill there, but we've seen some child actors in the past that doesn't translate to their adolescence, teens, and young adult years. So you never really know.
Yeah. Obviously, it's been so long since that movie came out, since About a Boy came out, but I can tell you that I didn't, and it's not because I thought that he was bad in the movie. It was just that sometimes I think that there are child performances that hit you like a freight train, where you're like, there's no way that it ends here. Mm-hmm. With him, I remember thinking that was good, but it's not like I ever wonder what's going to happen to Nicholas Hoult next, to the point where I forgot that was him in this movie. I mean, it was not until Jamie assigned it to us that I realized that it was Nicholas Hoult when he was a kid and it was his first movie. So I'll be curious to hear from listeners if you have different experiences with Nicholas Hoult's debut. If you saw About a Boy and then you went, this kid's going places, and someday we're going to be wondering if he's actually going to make the crossover to the MCU as Beast, or if we're going to leave him in the past.
That was me after 40-Year-Old Virgin. Like Jonah Hill. I remember the first time I saw that movie, Jonah Hill was my takeaway. I'm like, this kid's going places. And now he's been nominated for 2 Oscars.
Yeah. He's directed at least one movie that I can think of. So
that's right. You're right.
All right. We're going to close with something that we referenced in the episode, just kind of briefly. Maybe we can talk about it a little bit more here, and that is something that Nate Yap from Cinema Blend references too. He says, try to sneak past the lightsaber wielding masses and give this one a go. It's good fun. The lightsaber wielding masses. Alex, why were their lightsabers being wielded?
Star Wars Episode 2. Is it The Return or Attack of the Clones? It's the Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
I think we actually go through this on the episode. It's the Revenge of the Sith is the next
Mhm.
one, was released just days before. About a Boy was released in the U.S. on May 17th of 2002, whilst Star Wars came out the day before on May 16th, 2002. I mean, both of these movies did all right for themselves. So, no harm, no foul. And I will say right here and now on this preview that About a Boy is a better movie than Attack of the Clones.
It's about a movie. Oh, and Attack of the Clones is a better movie than Rise of Skywalker.
Ooh,
Yes.
man, I don't know. Probably. Yes. Yeah. Because the feeling of like, I'm never getting that back, and just like dejection that I had after Rise of Skywalker. After Attack of Clones, it's just like, okay. So, yeah.
Hopefully the next one's better.
Which it was.
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker was like, nope, that's it. It's the end.
We're done.
Yeah.
So yeah, moral of the story is that About a Boy is better than both Star Wars Episode 2 and Episode 9.
And maybe that's why it survives opening against a Star Wars movie.
Well, and as we talk about in the episode too, there were some other fucking titans of the summer that this went against. So the fact that it not only cleared its budget, but by a significant margin, is pretty. It speaks to one, the intelligence of the studio of like, hey, we're going to combat these like big blockbusters with this thing, a la Mamma Mia. For those of you who don't know, Mamma Mia came out on the same day as The Dark Knight and achieved its purpose of when every Dark Knight theater was sold out. Someone in the couple said, hey, we're going to watch this instead. So.
And the other person said, okay, I like ABBA.
Yeah, and that's the brilliance of it. It's like, well, I still want to see The Dark Knight, but I can come back tomorrow. Might as well see Pierce Brosnan sing some ABBA while we're here. So
I still want to see Star Wars, but sure, Hugh Grant. I mean, can't
exactly. It's got the girl from The Mummy in it. Let's go check it out.
All right. Well, somebody who was not in About a Boy was our friend Josh Gad. So here in the Josh Gad Minute, we travel back in time and we plop Josh Gad. We take somebody out of the cast of About a Boy and we put Josh Gad in their place. Alex, who are we replacing with Josh Gad?
I mean, it's not like our options are too plentiful here. The male characters in this are Hugh Grant and then a few like sprinkles throughout it, at least like grown ass men.
Right.
So I would say either his friend from the call center as kind of like a fun little cameo.
That would be the easiest. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Josh Gad plays the principal who like yells at Marcus at the talent show. Either way, it's like enough of like a small part to kind of pop the audience of like, hey, it's Josh Gad. I might go with the principal because he's kind of a dick, and it would help make that more memorable if Josh Gad's just really mean to all these kids and he's like, trying to control traffic on this talent show that's going down at this high school.
Yeah, I hadn't realized how actress heavy, female heavy this movie is until I try to figure out who Josh Gad could play, because it's really Hugh Grant obviously is the main character or one of the two main characters, but then he's just surrounded by women, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, I think that it provides a nice balance. He's an asshole dude, and then you get different female characters. It's like that Richard Gere movie from Robert Altman, is it Mr. T and the Women? It's like Richard Gere is a doctor, and then he's surrounded by an all-star cast of actresses who are in love with him, or want to have sex with him.
Julio, I'm sorry, it's Dr. T and the Women, but I now need a film Mr. T and the Women where it's Mr. T and a slew of women that want to fuck him.
Him just pitying the fools that want to fuck him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, I mean, the only other option which would, I'm sorry, I love Josh Gad, but this would derail the movie, is if you just replace Hugh Grant with Josh Gad. Yeah. Then you don't beat Star Wars. I mean, I think you make someone like me very happy, because I would love to see a Josh Gad vehicle where he plays this character and interacts with Toni Collette and Rachel Weisz like that. But I don't think that it does the numbers that About a Boy did, and then we wouldn't be discussing a 93% Tomatometer score on the show. So no, yeah, I think that if I have to choose between both of those, the principal, it would be such a head scratcher too, because you'd be like, is that Josh Gad? Is he ever coming back? And no, that's it. So we cast Josh Gad. Now, Alex, what extra trivia you have for us about a boy.
Well, we had a big one there with the Star Wars opening weekend duel. It wasn't the Duel of the Fates, though. Budget of $30 million, box office return of $130 million. So, like I said, cleared it by a comfortable margin from the minds that brought you American Pie, Paul and Chris Weitz, written by them as well, and also Peter Hedges. What did we discuss? Peter Hedges also had done What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Dan in Real Life, which I'm a fan of. He directed that as well, and then The Odd Life of Timothy Green, which we talk a little bit about in the episode. So one of the things I read about this movie, Julio, was it doesn't say which role, but it says that Emma Thompson was offered a role in this. Would it have been Tony? Do you think in your mind it would have been Toni Collette, or would it have been the friend that Hugh Grant tries to snog by going to like the single parent meetings? And then like you couldn't like that's the most British movie ever. Hugh Grant and Emma Thompson in it.
Don't they play siblings in Love Actually?
I know they're both in it. I haven't seen Love Actually in at least 15 years. So
I'm sure somebody will correct us, but if this is wrong, but I think that she plays his sister, and because at first I was like, why not the Rachel Weisz role? Why can't you have Emma Thompson be like the end game? She's the one that sets him straight, but she is. I think that Emma Thompson has that presence of being like really serious, so you kind of get the feeling that she wouldn't put up with Hugh Grant long enough to find him charming like Rachel Weisz does, or even like the friend. So I think she would have to be the Toni Collette character. And I mean, I love Toni Collette in this movie, so it's not like that would be a necessary recast. But I think that she could pull it off. Like, I feel that Emma Thompson lost interest in romantic comedies a while ago.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, Love Actually came out after this.
Yeah, but that's not her like searching for love or anything. It's like her story is one of the most tragic in that movie. It's about her marriage falling apart.
Yeah, I mean semantics. But yeah, 2002, she just did Treasure Planet. She was a voice in that animated movie. I never saw that.
She's the captain.
So she could have, I mean, her career ended up fine, but she could have made some coin on this one, man. Like Nick Hornby's other film adaptation, High Fidelity, which we talk about in this episode, the initial pitch for this film was to relocate it to the USA, and George Clooney was attached as the lead. I love George Clooney, as is talked about endlessly when I talk about movies. I love Up in the Air, and I think he's so wonderful in that movie. This character and kind of what it needs, the Clunes, I don't think that works as well as this does.
Is he just too smug to pull off?
It's the fact that he has to be Tom Hanks in Big is like Hugh Grant. You can believe is like childish, like immature, because that's what this role calls for. Is you have to be kind of like a kid and realize you need to grow up, that type of thing. Clooney cannot play a kid. Like Clooney cannot play like a Seth Rogen, like perpetual teenager type thing. It's George Clooney. He's like one of the most regal white men in the world. Like, I'm not gonna buy him like shepherding this kid around and like learning things from him for his life.
Okay, I agree. I think on like overall, but the counterpoint would be that Hugh Grant is playing a comedic version of George Clooney in real life. Isn't he this sort of a perpetual bachelor that maybe he's not anymore.
Not anymore,
but,
yeah.
But for the longest time, that was a George Clooney image. This guy that's like older, he's like an adult, and yet he's not settling down. He's kind of like, in a way, like, well, was they say like DiCaprio, but DiCaprio actually has relationships, and then they end. I think that with Clooney, it was like you wouldn't even know who he was dating, and so maybe that would be.
Stacey Keebler took her to the Oscars.
There you go.
She was a former wrestler in the WWE, and she was the first WWE alum to sit in the front row at the Academy Awards, not The Rock.
Bravo.
Yeah.
I think that Clooney could have pulled it off only because it would be the American version of this, and so I think that it would be not as classy as About a Boy.
And it's still like, I say that, but I'm just talking about from my perspective. But from mainstream audiences, we were still in this hyperized version of reality in our romantic comedies and stuff, which I miss. Now everything has to be crushingly realistic. But yeah, people would have definitely bought the idea of like George Clooney, just hopping from one lily pad to the next and never gonna have kids. So but for me personally, like, that about High Fidelity. That worked out. I don't think that would have worked out.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have been. You would be giving it a green splotch, not a red tomato. You're like, who can buy this shit? But it would be Julia Roberts would play the Rachel Weisz character.
Lori Petty would play the Toni Collette character.
There you go. Done. Haley Joel Osment as the kid.
Yep.
There you go.
That'd be it.
It writes itself after that. Fun fact, the only other Nick Hornby movie adaptation that I've seen is one that is not as well received, although not as badly received as I would expect, which is the Jimmy Fallon vehicle, Fever Pitch. Fallon and Drew Barrymore.
We worked with someone who thought that was like the best romantic comedy ever.
No, that's not the case. And now that is a movie that I think mostly fails because of the male lead is miscast. Like I don't think, we're having a debate about whether Clooney can pull off a Nick Hornby adaptation. I don't think Fallon did, and I can't believe that anybody thought that he would.
Well, you know what? Peter Farrelly directed that movie. It was one half of the directing squad, and he ended up winning an Academy Award. So what do you know, Julio?
That's true. I think that there's not enough anti-racist sentiments in Fever Pitch, and that's why it just doesn't quite work like Green Book.
We're just putting like bullets in the chamber here to turn the gun around on ourselves, but like this movie with Jimmy Fallon in the lead. Oh my God. I can't babysit a kid. That would just be fucking hell on earth. You know, it's a good movie with Jimmy Fallon. Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
And he's in that movie for like 90 seconds.
Almost 90 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good shit. And then we talk about this a bit more in the episode. But Brad Pitt turned down the lead role of Will Freeman. And we'll kind of get into why in the episode itself. But again, Brad Pitt is great. Maybe at this point in time, he would have been coming off, Tyler Durden action. So maybe something like he's a big kid would have been a fun thing to do, but I don't know, man. The idea that guy would have to had a hard time on dates and stuff and couldn't talk his way out of situations. It's just like, no, not how the real world works, dog.
We need a romantic comedy where we might have missed the window for this, but where Brad Pitt and Hugh Grant are just bachelors that go out and are each other's wingman.
Las Vegas, man, give it about 15 more years and we can do Las Vegas reboot with Hugh Grant, Brad Pitt,
Edward Norton,
maybe Ed Norton, Idris Elba, and Josh Gad.
There you go.
Ed Norton is a fine actor, but he doesn't belong on that Mount Rushmore of hunk, man. I'm telling you.
Man, that makes me sad. Hear you say that. Norton gets enough grief from the industry and the haters
because he's supposed to be like an abysmal prick. I think it's not necessarily like unfounded.
Never done anything to me. I don't care.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just see the work on screen. That's it for this preview content for About a Boy. There's a lot more quotes, a lot more trivia, and a whole recap of the movie, along with our true opinions once we're done with that, all in our About a Boy episode. And then coming up next is not quite a patron pick, like a sideways pick. We're going to be talking about the movie Waitress, fresh on the Tomatometer, with special guests.
Fresh out the oven.
Yes, God. They didn't give it a red tomato. They gave it a steaming pie, like one of those.
Cooling on the windowsill?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a friend of the show, Rachel, who is married to someone who's been on the show before. And if you want to find out who she's married to, well, you can listen to the episode. We'll leave that as along with our opinions on Waitress. That'll be a mystery. That's coming up next. So watch Waitress, watch About a Boy, listen to the episode, and we'll see you again soon.
Adios.